think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
And welcome once again, everyone. This is Safe Movies, a podcast about movies that are safe. And it's October around here, which puts everybody in a horror movie mood, even those of us who like to pride ourselves on watching horror movies all throughout the year. And so, in that spirit, I thought tonight we'd discuss a film that is very near and dear to my heart. I don't pretend to be objective about the movies that I see, and I get actively annoyed when other people do. But this one especially is, I am incapable of being objective about, because, of course, it is 1986's The Fly, directed and partially written by the only other good David Cronenberg, my brother from another country. And I saw this movie at a very young age, probably too young, wherein it scared me for all the obvious reasons. And and saw it again as a teenager when I understood things like nuance and metaphor, and it scared me even more then. And it's become almost like an annual tradition around my house. Like every year or so, I'll be like, oh, yeah, I haven't watched The Fly in a while. And yes, as such, I cannot possibly be objective about it. And I am, as always, going to get by with a little of my friends. Because God basically told me to review this movie now again. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. When that fucking fly landed on the vice president's head. And I was like, it's been a while. I might as well. Because 'tis the season. But I am joined, as always, by my friends, Kevin and Rachel. And so how's it going, guys? Sorry I made you watch this again. Unless you like it, in which case, you're welcome. But yeah.
You didn't make me watch it. I watched it on my own. I love this movie.
There is that too, yes.
And you don't really have to twist my arm to see semi-naked Jeff Goldblum.
30-year-old Jeff Goldblum, no less, right?
Yeah. This is like
Hollywood workout plan.
Yeah, seriously, this has got to be like right around. Was this before or after Earth Girls Are Easy? Because man, he looks like he's just fresh from the set.
It's either right before or right after. I don't know actually when they were filmed, so I don't know really which was filmed first. But it's the same period of his work, basically.
Yeah.
And yes, of course, being played opposite by just as 30-year-old Gina Davis. And the two were dating at the time. And quite frankly, even if I didn't know that, I think I could kind of tell somewhere in the back of my head. That was partially why they were chosen for these roles.
Really?
Giving, basically the tour de force performances of both of their careers. And honestly, they should have won Oscars. But instead, the special effects team did. And, deservedly so, I would say. But yeah, so I saw the movie when I was 5 because my parents obviously mistook it for the 1956 version that they would have seen when they were about 5 or so, probably. And because for whatever reason, the mom and pop movie rental store that was closest to my house made the absurd, in hindsight, decision to stock the cartoon shelf right across the aisle from the horror section. So you can imagine 5-year-old me out there going in for the Transformers movie or the G.I. Joe movie. And I turn around and boom, there's The Fly. Among many various and sundry other things. So if I were Batman, that wouldn't be my dead parents, but that particular section of the video store would be my crime alley. Especially since in my memory, it always seemed a little more shadowy than the rest of the store, probably because of the placement of the fluorescent lights and the height of the shelves, basically. Just a little bit foreboding and ominous. So that's my origin story. What about you guys? When did you first find this movie?
Gosh, I think I must have only seen this probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I was actually just watching a bunch of movies. Like I kind of went down this rabbit hole of watching movies that were related to mutations. Just kind of fascinated by human mutations and just
And
was
one of the many reasons why we're friends. Yes.
yeah. So I was just watching some body horror, like the whole body horror like genre sort of all comes like out of this collective consciousness we have as humans about um I think it really like took off when it did because of our understanding of the fallout from like the DNA, like literally the fallout from the bomb and the like effects on people's DNA and like having a better understanding of what would be possible in like genetic manipulation. And I think it like a lot of these body horror, like The Fly, The Blob, a lot of them deal with cells that are mutating and like your body kind of being out of you being out of control of what your body is like turning into.
The
Um,
Thing, yes, as well.
yeah,
1984,
yeah, and
81.
there's just like there was this just like cluster of these movies, all in the 80s, that kind of dealt with this and some Twilight Zone episodes as well. And yeah, I just decided for some reason that I wanted to watch a bunch of those all at once, and I ended up watching The Fly in the midst of that. Which was funny because at being your friend, I've heard you refer to it many, many times, but I actually had no idea that Jeff Goldblum was in it until I started watching it.
Oh, I failed you as a friend. I'm sorry for that. But yes, this is the performance that basically made his career playing nerdy science guys. Ever since for like 20 years or so after this. And I don't know, is he still kind of a awkward nerd on the CSI he was on? I didn't watch that, but I know
Oh,
you
when he
did.
was on Law and Order?
Law and Order, that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he is kind of the um eccentric genius of that too, you know. It's I mean like his character and the Law and Order series I was watching was I mean it was basic you could easily see his character from Jurassic Park just being continued as that. Like there was really no difference
Mhm.
in those characters. It was really quite entertaining if you are a fan of it.
After all that business with the T-Rex in San Diego, he became a cop.
Yeah, I
Oh.
think you're right, Dave. This is the movie that like kind of put him in that mold ever since. Because like then what was it like? Fucking Independence Day,
Mhm.
dude. Then Jurassic Park.
Mhm.
Jurassic Park came first, I think. But and
Yeah. But yeah,
then the
this
apartments.com guy. Now
yep.
he's that guy. Yeah, the weird scientist kind of guy now. Yep. Ever since.
Kev, when did you see this? How old were you?
I don't think I saw it till I was an adult. I don't remember seeing it as a kid. You guys are talking about the body horror aspect of it, and I think this is really like I think Cronenberg, who's the director, obviously, he done a bunch of other body horror movies before this. I think he's probably responsible for. I'm sure there's plenty of body horror movies before this, but I feel like Cronenberg was responsible like for bringing it like into the mainstream, especially with this movie.
If
'Cause,
if I were if I were a Terminator, I would definitely call him like the man most directly responsible.
Yeah.
yeah. Um, he had what was it, Videodrome before this.
Yep.
The Brood, like
Mhm.
all those have like weird.
Rabid before that, and even his first movie, well, not first movie, but like first actual no shit feature film. I think it's called Shivers in this country. Also,
Yeah,
they
yeah, yeah,
came
yeah.
from within.
Shivers.
Yeah, Shivers
Yeah,
is
for
legit.
sure. I think what's great about The Fly is like you guys were talking about how it's like super body horror and like it hits on all the weird aspects of like being human. It's like there's the weird sweaty sex, there's the breaking bones, there's the puking, there's like all the weird parts of being like human that reminds you that you're just like a fucking weird animal. Like they're all like just like foisted in your fucking face in this movie. It's fucking great, especially just as Goldblum like throughout the movie just gets like sweatier and grosser and like
Yeah.
like that's the fucking greatest part is to the point where he just literally falls apart. That scene where his fucking ear falls off, his nails
Yeah.
are peeling off, his teeth are falling out. These are all like very visceral, like fucking like horrific things. Like even I guess like dreams about your teeth falling out are super common.
I was going
I've
to
had a
say,
dream
yes,
like that. Yeah.
that would have been a
Yeah.
nightmare. I would have probably already had, even if I hadn't seen this movie, because people who haven't report to me that they have that nightmare anyway.
Yeah, it hits all those notes, like these really fucking primordial things that like kind of make us all fucking feel disgusting. And it's just constantly like, here's another one. Here's his nails falling off. Here's him like
Yeah, like
here's
his
him like
scabs. Like he's constantly like layers of scabs.
hair, weird hairs appearing on your back. Like these are all like parts of like human existence that people have to deal with anyway, but like it just like amplifies them to this like fucking disgusting level but you can't look away because it's so well done. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I saw it as a kid. I'm glad I didn't see it as a kid. I remember seeing the original one, but also saw it as an adult. I think I saw the Goldblum one before the Vincent Price one, and like they're not even comparable. Like the original one's like he's got a giant fly head on. He's like a normal guy with a giant fly head.
Yeah, and I had seen that one prior.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
classic.
when
It's classic.
yeah, but when Dave was telling me about like seeing The Fly as a kid and how it affected him, I was like, "What are you talking about? That was such a cheesy like fly head." And then he was like, "Oh no, you got to watch the one, with Jeff Goldblum." I was like, "Okay." So when I watched it, I was like, I was prepared for like this fuzzy fly head like mask thing that I was sort of used to from the original to just be like on Jeff Goldblum's head. I was like totally unprepared for the like slow transformation and the like you said, just like really leaning into that um that visceral feeling of what it is to have a body.
And
Yeah.
to be a the tiny light of consciousness piloting this chaotic, absurd sack of meat and fluids that we're all attached to. One of the things that gets me now as an adult is, well, almost from the first scene, like they're coming back from the party where they meet in Gina Davis's car, and he mentions that he's always been car sick. When I was 3, I puked on my tricycle. And it's like the very second scene in the film, and already they're it's starting to layer it in there. It's also a bit of foreshadowing, of course, but original Fly, which like you, Kev, I saw way after I saw this, just because I couldn't find a copy of it in Rat's Ass, Missouri, where I grew up. It's more of, well, it's very much of its time, as they say. It's more of the horror lurking behind the placid, newly minted then exterior of like 50s suburbia, at least as conceived of by Hollywood, which is to say absurdly rich and opulent. Like, not many people, some people had enough room to make like a full laboratory thing in their basement, like 50s Fly did, but it wouldn't have looked that cool, shall we say.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have had that much space, or if you did, you would have made a bomb shelter out of it. 80s Fly, Cronenberg Fly, as with most Cronenberg movies, is about the horror of just existing in the world and in the bodies that we're stuck with. And one of the things that strikes me these days, apart from all the foreshadowing, is like one of the first things that happens after he gets fused with the Fly is he loses the ability to sleep. And I didn't get this as a kid, but now, of course, I've read the CIA torture manuals, And like that's like the first 5 pages. If you really want to fuck somebody up, there's all the showy shit with the punching and the hitting and the electrodes on your junk. But that's all, piker shit. If you really want to fuck somebody up, you take away their sleep cycle. And so once that happens, you notice his the first decay is not so much physical as emotional. Like his personality falls apart because he's not resting at all. And and because of that, his relationship falls apart, and then he starts to fall apart completely. It's a wonderful, heartwarming story of love and of the flowering and destruction of a relationship. I would say. Uh, I guess I had to go through a few who actually understand that. That's what strikes me now. Like he's already a weird nerd at the start, but after he gets flyified, he's becomes an obsessive weird nerd with his own particular fascinations.
Have you ever heard of insect politics? Neither have I.
Don't forget the incredible gymnast skills of Jeff Goldblum. Of course, maybe it was a body double. I think it probably was, but
it probably was. Yes,
it's probably the funniest part. It's just like, yo, check out his fucking Olympian gymnast skills here for like 3 minutes. Check out his abs, yo.
And that's the thing, right? At first it seems like a nice transition. He thinks that the telepods have purified him because he basically does get superpowers. I mean, super strength, agility, and the sticking to walls comes later, but still, he's basically Spider-Man more or less at the start, and it seems to be all right. But there's something wrong. And it's just, he's talking faster and getting more abstract, making less sense, especially in that where he's pouring the sugar into the coffee. And just, and even that, like, you're a director when you make a pile of sugar in a coffee look disgusting.
He puts like 70 fucking spoonfuls sugar in that coffee. It's crazy. It's not good. That's how you get diabetes. It's not good.
Yes, indeed. But so what do you think? Best romantic comedy of 1986? I don't know. What do you guys think?
By far. Yes, of course. Yeah. What was the bad guy's name? I always thought it was funny. It sounds very like scripty.
Stathis Borns. Yes.
I thought it was Barnes. Stathis Barnes.
Borns. Officially, it's Borans. Borans.
Stathis. What kind of name is that?
It's a very Cronenberg name. I mean, yes. What kind of name is Seth Brundle? The very word seems to buzz ever so slightly. Brundle. What the hell? And Seth is a biblical name. Seth is the child of Adam and Eve, who the third child of Adam and Eve doesn't get involved in that whole Cain and Abel business. But this Seth, of course, he swallowed a fly and does die. Yes, eventually.
Yep. By a shotgun to his face.
Yes. There's your cure. Yeah.
I found out something really weird when just reading about The Fly. Apparently, in that scene, that dream sequence where like her legs are up in the stirrups.
The abortion dream, yes.
Yeah.
The director of the
Cronenberg.
gynecologist.
Yeah, Cronenberg with the gynecologist. Weird.
Yeah, he was like in the fucking dream scene. Yeah. He's been in a couple other movies as an actor, like just in a weird capacity like that too. Like,
Ooh, shout out to Nightbreed, where he plays a serial killing psychologist.
yeah. It's method acting.
Indeed, yes. Or in Jason X, where I think he just shows up to get stabbed through the chest.
Yeah, that is a pretty cool little Easter egg though. Yeah, you're like,
Still,
hey,
it's like,
there
yeah.
he is. There's David.
Hey
There he is in
kids,
his
it's
own
David
movie.
Cronenberg. Applause. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, a little bit Hitchcock there, or M. Night Shyamalan. They're like, I'm gonna put myself in the movie every time, except Cronenberg only does it like twice. So
It's
respect.
and really, I could see, yeah, I could see that, like, because basically, like, what I love about this movie, among any other things, is it's basically just a three-header. Like, it's just Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis and what's his name? Sorry,
Staff is, yeah, it's really just a 3-person play. Yeah, except for there's like a weird prostitute for like 5 seconds. But other than that, yeah, it's just like it's real.
Tawny,
For
yes.
yeah, it is, and it's like
Poor
it's like
Tawny. Honestly, though, poor Tawny. Shit, that was a horrible night to. What a horrible night to run into 30-year-old Jeff Goldblum. I could
yeah, for sure.
I could totally see
Right.
that. You think you've won the
Oh.
lottery. I mean, he's walking in there with just a jacket, no shirt, and you're like, "Oh, cool!" And he takes you back home, starts
Break somebody's
ranting.
arm on the way.
Breaks somebody's arm, yeah, and then takes you back home, just starts ranting about teleportation and shit, and be like, "What the fuck ever, Jesus Christ!" And then his ex shows up and literally warns you away,
And
which
she's
is
still
always
like, you know what? Not the worst Tinder date I've been on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they did a really good job of, as they showed the decaying of him and him going through this like process and metamorphosis. Like you said, it shows how it's like slowly also decaying the relationship he has with her. And to the point where like it first kind of like is affecting their relationship, and then it's like affecting her where she's having these like horrific nightmares. So I think that was really well done. I think a lot of times, especially in horror films, the role of the girlfriend or the role of the wife is really just to like scream when it needs to, like, scream when there needs to be screaming, and just really to like react to it. But they really did a good job of showing how it was affecting her more and more over time, and actually gave her more depth than just like whenever like there needed to be somebody to scream at the horror.
arguably, like, the more times I watch this, the more times I think this is actually Ronnie's movie. Like, she is she's, if not the title character, she is at least like the audience surrogate. We're supposed to be seeing all of this through her perspective, and the camera stays with her a lot more than it does with Seth, because that way you can, yes, show another next stage in mutation when she comes back.
Yeah, I think it was I did notice that there was a sequence that the DVD version had about the monkey cat.
Yes,
Do you remember the monkey cat?
deleted scene. Yes, one of the
Yeah,
famous.
I think because I didn't see that, and I don't know if that was because I was seeing it on TV when I saw it the first time or what, but I think that like leaving that out was actually probably a good call.
It was apparently the thing that made test audiences finally turn against our kindly Mr. Brundle.
So wait,
That
there was a scene where they merge a monkey and a cat. So
Yeah, so he uses the teleporting pods to like
telepaths.
take this, his baboon that you see him with, and
yeah,
like this
which
alley
disappears
cat.
later in the movie. Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah.
Right. And he
Yeah.
gets this alley cat, and like it of course turns into this like disgusting hybrid, and so he clubs it to death with a pipe.
You know what's funny that you say that is that if you'd watched the sequel, there's the Fly 2, which I mentioned before we did this, which obviously wasn't as successful, but actually isn't as bad as some people say it is. But I think they took that idea and worked it into that film, because I distinctly remember there's a scene with a dog that gets
Yeah.
fucked up in the second movie, and it's super sad. He's like all, and he's all mutated and shit. And I think Yeah, somebody murders it. But I
Our
think they took that
pro-
and put that in the second movie for that reason. They're like, we'll put that in the less successful sequel.
but even then, no, it's not just somebody. It's the protagonist of The Fly 2, Martin Brundle, the son of Seth,
Oh,
who
right.
befriended that dog when he met the
Oh,
dog
that's how it
called
ends, right? That's how it ends, right? He gets merged with the dog.
No, he gets the bad guy winds up in the same cage that they up to the mutated dog in,
Mm.
and so it's super ironic and stuff. Bartok of Bartok Industries, which supposedly finances all of this super science that Jeff Goldblum is up to in his, quite frankly, sweet loft. I mean,
Yeah, those
can we all
industrial
agree on
loft.
that? That's a sweet
Yeah.
fucking pad he's got going down. I
Mhm.
mean, if Jeff Goldblum
Yeah.
took you back to that pad for an espresso, I mean, I think we can all agree that yes, that wouldn't be the worst night of our lives. Like, because and he plays piano. God damn it, he plays a pretty good rag. You know, I'd love to have like a freestanding piano somewhere if I could actually do anything with it.
Yeah, I think they
Um,
put that. They always seem to, because he does like the actor himself is a fantastic pianist. So they use. I noticed that too when he was playing his character in Law and Order. And like in other movies, you'll see they'll like find some excuse to like have a piano appear next to his character to give him a chance to play on it a little bit.
Hell yes, because when your actors have natural talent, of course you want to exploit that. And also it's another bit of foreshadowing because later there's that shot of his fingers as he can't type anymore, so he's typing with a pencil. And
Because his hands got all fucking merged.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would be very excited to go to his loft and observe his pianist skills.
Well played. Well played.
uh, honestly, I'm like a 0.5 on the Kinsey scale, but even like there's that shot when he gets out of the telepod and the baboon jumps into his arms, and it's shot from below, of course, so the greater, the low angle implies dominance, and he's all sweaty. I
Yeah, and
mean,
he's like kneeling in that like prowess kind of, prowling kind of pose.
in the it's the Greek statue pose, right?
Yeah.
It's almost the thinker, except
It's really like, and that shot is really to establish like he is like this Greek statue. He's like this Adonis in this image, and it just is not. It only gets worse from there. Like that whole, I think that whole establishing shot was just for you to like really take in. Like, oh yeah, he's like, a fit, and his skin's really smooth, very healthy. Yeah, just so that you can like have that picture fresh in your mind for when it just goes all to shit.
because
Yep.
later, he goes. It's one of the few full. Really, there aren't that many full body shots because it took 11 hours or something ridiculous like that to get him into the whole suit every time. So there's only a couple of them where you see the whole thing. But yeah, one of them is in the extremely overlit bathroom when he's going in there to with a handful of his own teeth that have fallen out. And yeah, that's the contrast with the earlier bit when it's like stage 5 or so of flyification, and he's basically molting, for lack of a better word. Like he's just all this loose
Yeah.
skin just hanging off, and yeah.
Is he keeping like a little collection too? You say
Yes,
like he has,
the
he's like,
medicine
here's all my lost shit. It's in a little box.
the medicine cabinet has become the Brundle Museum of Natural History. You want to see
Yeah,
what else
that's
is in
right.
there?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But before that, though, there's just this shot where he catches himself in a mirror and he just kind of sighs. And as I age, more and more, now more than ever, I keep kind of referring back to that and being like, yep. Because people came up to Cronenberg after this, made it big, and they asked him all kinds of questions like, oh, is it a metaphor for AIDS? Is it a metaphor for cancer? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the other fucking thing? And he's like, yeah, sure, because he's a pretty copacetic dude. Seems, at least in interviews, seems even-tempered. He's not one of those completely manic directors. he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. But when we were making it, all we were really thinking about was a metaphor for the aging process.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do y'all think of that?
I think that's what's great about it is like that's like the best thing about a lot of good movies is that you can transpose like a lot of different ideas on it. Like you said, it could be an AIDS metaphor if you looked at it that way. It could be an aging metaphor. I think it's clearly an aging metaphor because he said it was. But yeah, there's all sorts of different ways to interpret it, and that's what makes it great. Is there's so many different ways to look at this movie. But mostly it's just amazing to see the beautiful Jeff Goldblum turn into a fucking pile of goo. So that's the most fascinating part, and they do it so well. You just can't stop watching it. It's amazing. Yeah, it's so well done.
See, I thought, I mean, that's interesting to have that as a metaphor. I mostly think of it as like the, what I would imagine is like the worst effects of being hit with a nuclear device, right? Like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
everything that he goes to, his body parts are falling off. He gets these bumps and blisters and like hair in weird places. He's throwing up. Like
Yeah.
and I think a lot of the body horror, biological horror movies like speak to that to me. And I think a lot of like the imagery um that was established in those movies was probably, inspired from the, collective horror that everybody had at the idea of being exposed to something like that.
For sure. Yeah. I actually like that. That's one thing I really like about this over the 50s movie is like you think it's going to go one way, especially with like it's like obviously if you haven't watched the original movie, but I love how it's like he's trying to make like a transporter basically. So you think it's going to go one way. Like if you don't know like where the movie's going, you're just like, okay, it's a sci-fi idea where he's going to make a transporter. Then it's just like, no, throw that out the window. It's actually like this fucking turns into this cellular fucking merging device. I love how it just like sidelines that whole, but it starts out, in the beginning, just like this is a transporter. It's basically a Star Trek transporter. That's what he's trying to make, right?
Yep,
How does he afford the power bill? That's what I
Yep.
was wondering.
I imagine the local, whatever the local Toronto Con Ed is, they're probably seeing some weird spikes from that supposedly deserted address there that he's
You're like,
living
what
in.
the fuck? Yeah, he's got a weed op. He's definitely growing weed in there.
No
Or
shit,
something.
right? Yeah, the
Yeah.
DEA just descends on the damn place with an entire SWAT team, and they're like, "What the fuck is that smell?"
Yeah, what the fuck is that smell? Oh wait, that's just
Why are
Seth
there-
Rundle rotting.
why are there-
Never mind, it's just Seth Rundle's rotting body.
Why are there empty donut boxes everywhere?
I bet you think that you woke me up about the flesh, don't you? But you only know society's straight line about the flesh. You can't penetrate beyond society's sick, gray fear of the flesh.
And that's 1981 was Videodrome. So, and that too was pretty much all about the attempts at integrating the flesh with then new emerging technology and of the various horrors that might accrue from that. With this, it's attempts to teach technology to work with the flesh actually just wind up making everything way worse, because this movie's basically a series of Jeff Goldblum not forgetting things or overlooking things, shall we say. He doesn't know enough about the flesh, so he can't tell the computer, but he tells it that, but he doesn't tell it to not put two different organisms together until it's too late. And then later he does tell it to put two organisms together, but the results, as seen in the monkey cat scene, are not viable, shall we say, to say the least. And by then he's quite completely insane, so he can't even really program worth a damn anyway. It takes his son to come along and perfect that particular program in the sequel, which, like you, Kev, I also like very much more than the general consensus did. The we can just touch on it briefly, just because. The Fly 2, directed by Chris Wales, who, programming note, is the person actually responsible for all the special effects in this movie. This is a Chris Wallace joint, I should say. And yeah, Fly 2 is almost like a superhero movie, really. Sometimes when I think about it. It's certainly more actiony than this one. But also, I think, because like with the bit with the dog, because in the Fly 1, it's kind of a kick the dog moment, they usually call it in movies, when he kills the monkey cat. In the Fly 2, it's more of a, save the dog from horrible pain, the horrible pain that is its post teleported life kind of moment for our hero, which gains us more sympathy for Martin Brundle. Apart from the fact that he's a, super genius who ages incredibly fast.
Yeah, I liked it. It's not as bad as people say it is. It's got what's his name? Fucking Eric Stoltz, the original Marty McFly before he was fired.
Eric Stoltz himself, yes, as our Martin Brundle. And
they bring back what's his name? They bring back Stathis in it, and he's crippled from having his hand and his leg fucking dissolved by acid in the first movie, right?
Yep.
He's much more of a isn't he? He's like not as bad of a character. It's like he's been sort of humbled a little bit, if I recall.
Well, one would certainly hope, right?
I think he kind of helps in this movie. He's kind of like, okay, like he kind of learned that he's an asshole. So plus he's crippled now. So
and it would have cost him who he refers to as his girl. Your father stole my girl. He's like a cranky drunk old Obi-Wan, basically, in that one scene that he's in. And
yeah. I thought it was an interesting take. They didn't just like double down on like making him like. They actually kind of developed his character a little more. That's one of the things I liked about it. Is they kind of like they didn't just try to redo the first movie. They took it kind of a different direction. Of course, there was some.
Yes,
there was a little bit of weird '80s, like they're like, "Hey, here's an extended sex scene for no reason." In his weird science bunker.
Well, because we've got Eric Stoltz and Daphne Zuniga.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think they included that because they were trying to capture that like feel of the original, but it was just like,
oh, totally. Yes.
They're like, hey, here's a 5-minute sex scene of Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis. Now it's like, yeah, we don't really want to see Eric Stoltz having sex. So try to do that with the steamy saxophone and shit,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, now that's the thing. It's like that's the Fly 2, like obviously it could never equal the impact of its predecessor, right? But when it tries, it tends to overcorrect or it strikes people as what we would now call try hard, which is apparently a bad thing now. Now that I've played video
but I
games.
think for comparing it to the first movie, I feel like the special effects and everything are kind of on par.
Hell yes. Absolutely. Yeah. I like Martin Fly's design just as a movie monster in general. And also as a window into what his father might have become had he continued.
Yeah, I think it was a really good like evolution of like, but not too far. Like they didn't have him doing crazy. Like he wasn't flying like a fly or some shit.
Because
Tremors 2 kind of shit.
Right. But even then, right? You can't support that much weight on fucking gossamer wings, right? You need wings like twice as big as you are to even get off the ground.
I think there's this scene where he goes around and he's puking up like acid puke on all the fucking guards in this facility, and like they're all.
There is that guy who gets it in the face.
Yeah. Which they kind of evolved the puking scene from the original one. Like now his puke is. I mean, he does it to Stathis in the first movie. Brundle does, but now his son is like going around and like projectile vomiting like onto all these security facility folks.
And because he goes through Seth Brundle calls himself like something that has never existed before, and a lot of people point out that another aspect of body horror and that tends to get to people, especially in that article you shared with me, Rachel, is the fact that these creatures are generally, seen as like evolutionary dead ends, like they're weird hybrid mutants that don't really seem to fit into any particular niche or anything. But Martin Fly is the first of a new species, more or less, and we get to see him go through his whole life cycle. He goes through up to pupa and up to chrysalis, and then final evolution. And yeah, where he's just an actual 185-pound fly.
So his name is Martin.
Yes, Martin Brundle.
Oh, Martin Brundle. So this is weird. Isn't that weird that Eric Stoltz was the original Marty McFly?
Mm-hmm.
Then he got fired, and then became Martin Brundle Fly.
Yes. It's yes.
Hmm.
Do not know. I do not know how coincidental that is.
Really fucking coincidental, yeah. Because it was made 4 years after Back to the Future, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Debuting the same summer as Back to the Future 2, right? So
Martin Brundlefly. I mean, he becomes the second brother. Yeah, Martin McFly. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a coded message from the Illuminati, clearly.
That is, yes. And the coded message from behind, from the resurrected Vladimir Lenin is how actually the great big villain, this whole thing is revealed to be the rapacious science industrial, company run by a creepy old man played by Lee Richardson in the sequel. And how they, in the wake of Seth Brundle's death, just confiscate all his shit and apparently keep Ronnie and Stathis under lock and key until Martin is born, and hope to just profit, not just off the teleportation, but also the gene splicing aspect of Seth Brundle's research. And how, it falls upon his son Martin to, at least, temporarily at least, halt that. And and also rescue the girl and kill all the bad guys and eventually find a cure for himself. And so yes, it's that's the other thing. The Fly 2 has a happy ending. The Fly 1 does well. It was supposed to, but this is another deleted scene, or at least a couple of them. Neither of which tested well apparently. So at the end, they just like smash cut to credits, and the Howard Shore score comes in, and it's just like, boom, you're done. That's it. That's all you get, and I admire that, especially in an age like ours when
No after credits scene.
Nope, no nothing. Just boom, done.
So The Fly is a fucking great movie. Check it out, and also check out its sequel if you haven't seen it, because it's not that bad. It's not the best, but it's not that bad. And hopefully they will never remake these movies, or this movie, at least. Cross my fingers.
Right. Knock on wood when you say that. I should mention that there is a comic book miniseries called The Fly Outbreak, published in 2015 by IDW Press. And for lack of any better way to describe it, it is basically The Fly 3.
Oh my, really? Is it any good?
Depends on how much you like abstract art, more or less. I mean,
I do.
the story's pretty much what I'd expect them to do with a third film in this continuity. To use a hideous word. But it's the art that they got, the artist they got to do it, and the artist they got to do a lot of horror comics these days is a little bit more abstract than I prefer personally. So you get like a lot of really detailed figures against like really blank backgrounds, which is not the best if you want to do like a big budget sci-fi movie action scene, which that series has a couple of them. But yes, as I would recommend it to all my fellow fans of The Fly 2, at least, just for the continuing adventures of Martin Brundle and Bartok Industries.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, a final tie up to their little story arc there. But yes, nobody beats the Wiz, and nobody beats the Cronenberg. So for all the flesh that says yes, I thank you all for listening. And yeah, brush your teeth, people.